Okay, we moved all these nucs in this morning. We picked them up in the dark when it was still pretty cold. I think it got down to about 29 degrees last night, which is pretty good temperatures for moving bees. We picked them up just before daylight and we scattered them around into several yards. These were all queen mating nucs from last summer. We got several rounds of queens mated in these things, and we had about 120 left over that we just didn't need the queens for anything, so we're going to try to overwinter them over a double screen board. They're not very big. They're only ranging from 2 to 4 frames of bees, but over a double screen board, I think we can get them through the winter. We picked 3 yards where we've got some pretty good singles full of bees with plenty of food, and we put the double screen board on each one, and then we'll install these 5-frame nucs in a deep box and leave them there for the winter. The heat rising from the single colony below definitely makes a huge difference, and believe it or not, even here in the southern Appalachians, we can still get 3 frames of bees, 4 frames of bees through the winter good, as long as they're on top of that lower colony that's creating heat. There's not a lot of heat created in midwinter when they're broodless, but later on when they start rearing brood, you can put your hand over the hole in the double screen and really feel the heat coming out of there. We were just here 2 days ago checking out all these colonies to make sure that they were in good shape. If you look at this yard carefully, you'll see that we didn't put a double screen board on every single colony because some of the colonies were only 4 or 5 or 6 frames of bees themselves. But everything that had plenty of bees in it, we went ahead and put one of those double screen boards on. So in February, when they're rearing brood, you can really feel the heat coming up through these boards. Yeah, this is what they look like. And, you know, of course, we got the video showing how we make these things. They're pretty simple. I get questions about the holes a lot. It really doesn't matter what size the hole it is, as long as it's big enough to let heat through. And of course, you have to have a screen on both sides so the bees can't touch each other through the screen. Just a small entrance. This looks like about 2 inches. And of course, it's a good colony underneath. Probably about the 1st of March or the 2nd week in March. Then we'll take these boxes and put them on pallets and reestablish another bee yard with them. So right now we're just trying to get these small nucs through the winter. Okay. This is a pretty small nuc. This is really kind of pushing it on the size. It's got plenty of feed in it. The bees tend to be darker. These are some of those daughters of the Caucasian breeders that we picked up last summer. Of course, we like to mark our queens whenever we see them. So that's a Caucasian, well, that's a daughter of a Caucasian breeder. So I'd say she's probably, let's see, let me think about this. She'd be about 3/4 Caucasian, I guess. As you can see, that's a really small nuc. It was just a queen mating nuc, but believe it or not, because it's going to be over this double screen board, I think we'll actually get it through the winter. Most of the nucs in here are a little bit bigger than that. Some of them are as big as 4 frames. We've gotten a lot of very small colonies like this through the winter by doing things like this. You wouldn't get away with something like this in Minnesota, but here in North Georgia we can. A person could sell these things in the spring as an overwintered nuke. This nuke here is a little more typical of what we got in this yard. Yeah, I'm a little happier with this size. Kind of watching for the queen. It'll never be easier to mark her than right now. As they get big in the spring, they'll get harder to find. There she is. This one's actually already marked. We must have spotted her earlier. So we're looking at about 3 frames of bees here. This will overwinter very nicely over these double screen boards. John, we're going to need some of that comb too, John.
Okay, all right.
This one still has just a little bit of brood. There's no eggs though, they're almost done. They'll be ready for an oxalic acid treatment here in just a week or two. This is Tommy transferring this nuke. Tommy's been working for me for, is it 6 years, Tommy?
A little over, yeah.
A little over 6 years, and he's leaving next week. He's going in business with a friend of his, and we're going to miss him. We wish him well, and I'm trying to help him as much as I can. I've never had a problem with other people going in business and competing with me. I don't ever look at it like that. I think there's plenty of room for everybody in this beekeeping world. I've always tried to help other people that are going into business for themselves. Tommy's moving down to Swainsboro, Georgia area, which should be a really good area for mating queens, much farther south than we are. And I think their focus is going to be on producing queens in March, April, and May down there. So I hope he does really good. Anyway, so y'all have been watching these videos and see Tommy showing up, Tommy Mailer. He's going to be gone next week. We're going to have to throw him a party or something, or give him a get well card or something. Yeah, anyway, so.
What are you thinking?
What am I thinking, right?
No, what am I thinking?
Well, what are you thinking, Tommy?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's got good ideas. They're going to spend the winter building queen mating nukes, and he's taking a few colonies with him that he's got going. I think within a year they'll be up and running. What's the name of your company going to be?
Honey, please.
Honey, please, really.
That's right.
Not like please, honey, but honey, please.
That's right. Honey, please.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope you're very successful. I really do.
Thank you, Bob. And I've enjoyed working with you for all these years.
Yeah, 6 years is a long time to be in one place working for somebody like me.
Well, we've had some adventures.
We've had some real adventures, no doubt about it. Put down a few 100,000 miles on the road, I think. Okay, we'll do this yard, and we got 2 more, and that should be it. Then we'll really kind of be done for the winter, honestly.
Yeah.
And we'll get some pollen patties and a little bit of syrup on these small nukes right after Christmas and get them to rearing brood again. And by April, they'll be unrecognizable.
So we're going to start earlier this year.
We're going to start earlier with these, yeah. These are small. We got to give them a little piece of pollen patty and just a little trickle flow out of a jar of food, and try to get them rearing brood around Christmas time or a little after Christmas, so they can. They're just a little too small to make it all the way till what would be our normal brood rearing period.
Okay.
You know, they're going to lose some of these bees through the winter. We got to have them rearing brood early so they can replace those bees as quick as possible. And the reason I'm going to wait that long, honestly, is because I really want to do that oxalic acid.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that rather than trying to get them to rear brood all winter long, I think I'm ahead just to try to get them to go broodless. And that oxalic acid is so important to us. I think we're money ahead and bees ahead if we can get them cleaned up, really well with that oxalic acid. And then as soon as that's over, we'll push them hard with little syrup and pollen patty. These will be good units in the spring. So you can see the orientation of the entrances on this pallet. We don't have them all facing in one direction. all of our double screen boards have the entrance in the same location on the board, so we always kind of go to the right front and go around the pallet, so we have an entrance on all 4 sides of the pallet. And I know this seems like a very odd place to have an entrance on the side, but the bees use it quite nicely. There's zero issue with them coming in along the side. Okay. You can see it's a pretty decent single-story colony underneath. They got, I'd say this is about 7 frames of bees. That'll be a nice little heater for these little guys over the winter. And of course these are well fed, so we won't look again at these colonies until mid-February when our maple starts blooming in this area. Now this location happens to be well south of the shop where the maple starts around the middle of February. The yards that are north of our shop, the maple doesn't start till probably the first week in March. And at that time we can even equalize a little bit. If the little guys are really lagging behind, we can take some brood out of this bottom colony and add it to the top. Then of course by sometime in March, them little colonies that are above will move on and we'll create another bee yard with them. So the nukes look pretty good. There was a few real small ones here and there was a few real strong ones, so we kind of borrowed from the strong ones and boosted the weak ones. We just moved them this morning, and I think most of the bees weren't even oriented yet, so the frames we moved around should stay for the most part where we put them. I think we'll get most of these through. It's looking good to me.